Some stories don't begin with thunder. They begin with a little girl's tears. And sometimes, the ones the world fears the most are the only ones brave enough to heal a broken heart. Before the story begins, hit the subscribe button for Bikers Hype, like the video, and share it with friends. Let's grow this biker family together. Asterisk, asterisk, the girl who never smiled, asterisk. Every morning at 7:10 a.m., the same sound echoed down the cracked sidewalks of Willow Street. Soft, muffled crying. A 9-year-old girl named Sienna walked to school alone. No backpack, just a cheap plastic bag with her books stuffed inside. Her clothes always looked 2 sizes too big, and her long brown hair always covered one side of her face, almost as if she were hiding behind it. People noticed her tears, but nobody stopped. Not the neighbors, not the shopkeepers, not even the school staff. They were too busy, and Sienna, she was too quiet to ask for help. Every day, she wiped her cheeks and whispered to herself, "Don't cry today. Please don't cry today." But she always did, because school wasn't a safe place. School was the battlefield. She never chose. The bullies, the school playground was loud, crowded, and cruel, and in the middle of it stood 3 girls, Lola, Kimmy, and Reese, the self-proclaimed queens of 6th grade. They hated Sienna, not because she did anything wrong, but because she was an easy target, because she was quiet, because she was weak, because she didn't fight back. Every day, they found new ways to break her. Sometimes they shoved her books. Sometimes they pushed her to the ground. Sometimes they cornered her behind the cafeteria dumpster and whispered things like, "No one cares about you. You're invisible. We can do anything we want." But the worst part, the thing that made her cry every night, they pulled her hair. Every single day. They yanked it hard. They pulled it until her scalp burned. They laughed when she winced. Sienna never told anyone. No one would believe her. They barely noticed she existed, until the day someone very unexpected walked into her life. Someone she should have feared, but instead would change everything. The bikers at Dust Devil Garage. 3 blocks away from Sienna's school stood a place most parents warned their kids to avoid. Dust Devil Garage, home of the Iron Vultures Motorcycle Club. Black Harleys lined the entrance like metal beasts. Leather-clad giants walked in and out, their boots hitting the pavement like thunder. The Iron Vultures were the kind of men people whispered about. Rough, feared, respected, untouchable, and their leader, Viper, was a legend. Tall, massive shoulders, tattooed arms like carved stone, long braided beard, black shades hiding eyes that had seen too much. People crossed the street when he walked by, but one thing no one knew about Viper was this: he hated bullies more than anything on earth. And he was about to meet the quiet little girl whose life was filled with them. The first sighting every day on his way to the garage, Viper stopped by a corner store to buy coffee. That's where he first saw Sienna. She was sitting against a wall outside the store, knees pulled to her chest, wiping her tears with her sleeve. He paused. Viper wasn't used to pausing. He rode fast. He lived fast. He didn't slow down for anything. But that day, he took off his shades and stared for a moment. A tiny voice inside him said, "She's hurting." But he didn't approach her, not yet. He simply walked inside, bought his coffee, came out, and saw something that made his jaw clench. A fistful of her hair was missing. Her scalp was red. Her face was swollen. Her eyes were empty. Viper froze mid-step. He knew pain. He had lived with it. He could recognize the kind that breaks someone slowly. She didn't look up at him. She didn't ask for help. She just cried quietly, as if she believed she deserved it. Viper tightened his leather gloves. Something inside him whispered, "This ends today." A Hell's Angel never walks past a child in pain the next morning. Viper waited outside the corner store. He stayed far enough not to scare her, but close enough to watch. At 7:10 a.m., she appeared again. Same steps, same tears, same downcast eyes. But today, something else happened. A scrap of paper slipped out of her plastic bag. The wind carried it toward Viper. He picked it up. It wasn't homework. It wasn't a drawing. It was a note. A note written by a child in shaky handwriting. "Please stop hurting me." Viper felt something explode in his chest. He turned. Sienna hadn't noticed the paper was gone yet. He walked toward her slowly, carefully. When she finally looked up, her eyes widened at the giant biker standing over her. She froze. He knelt down to her level, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Kid, who's hurting you?" She looked away. He lowered his tone even more. You're safe. No one can touch you right now. Just tell me, who did this?" She didn't answer, but tears rolled down her face in tiny streams, and then Viper saw it. A small, unfamiliar object sticking out of her tangled hair. At first he thought it was gum, but as he reached forward and lightly lifted her hair, he pulled out a metal pin. A long, sharp one, with strands of her hair stuck to it. Viper's face darkened, his heartbeat slowed, his breathing grew heavy. That pin wasn't something a child could accidentally get stuck with. Someone had shoved it into her hair, to make pulling it hurt even more. He whispered, almost trembling with anger, "Someone put this in your hair." Sienna nodded once, barely. Viper looked at the pin. The world around him blurred. He knew exactly what this meant. This wasn't just bullying. This was torture, and someone was enjoying it. He stood up slowly, and for the first time, the little girl saw something new in his eyes. Not danger, but rage in her defense. Viper goes to school. Viper never cared for rules, but he did care for justice. That morning, he followed Sienna from a distance and watched the bullies surround her behind the cafeteria dumpster. He didn't intervene immediately. He wanted to see everything. One girl shoved Sienna, another yanked her hair, the third laughed as she held something shiny, another metal pin. Viper's jaw cracked from how hard he was. Clenching it, he stepped forward. His boots hit the ground like thunder. The bullies froze. Every tiny vibration of his footsteps shook their courage. Apart. When he finally stood in front of them, he towered over the girls like a mountain of leather and tattoos. His voice came out deep and cold. "Give me the pin." Kimmy, the boldest, tried to hide it behind her back. Viper leaned in, eyes burning behind his shades. That wasn't a request. She dropped it instantly. Viper picked it up, inspected it, then slowly turned toward Sienna. "Go inside, sweetheart." She didn't move. He softened his tone. "You're safe. I got this." She nodded and ran. Now it was just Viper and the bullies. He stepped closer. "You think you're tough. You think hurting a small girl makes you powerful." Kimmy stuttered. "We didn't mean." Viper cut her off. "You stick something like this in her hair again." He leaned forward, voice so deep it vibrated the metal dumpster. "And I will personally make sure your parents understand exactly what you've been doing." Reese burst into tears. Kimmy's lips quivered. Lola whispered, "You're not sorry." Viper growled, "Not yet, but you will be." He leaned back, standing tall again, and listened to me carefully. "You even look at that girl wrong again, and every biker in this city will be standing right where I am now." They nodded rapidly. Viper didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't touch them. But somehow, they were more terrified than they had ever been in their lives. The Iron Vultures get involved. Sienna still cried the next day, but something was different. When Viper approached her, she didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She actually looked up at him. "Did they hurt you today?" he asked. She wiped her eyes. "No, they ran away when they saw me." Viper smirked. "Good." He looked at her hair again. It was still messy, uneven, broken. "You ever want a haircut that doesn't hurt?" She nodded slowly. "Come on, you're coming with me." Now, normally a child shouldn't follow a biker, but for the first time in her life, Sienna trusted someone. Viper walked her into Dust Devil Garage. The entire biker crew froze. A little girl, in their place, Hammer, one of the biggest vultures, stared in confusion. "Boss, who's the kid?" Viper placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "This is Sienna. She's under our protection now." The room went silent. Not a single biker questioned it. Not a single biker laughed. Not a single biker disrespected her, because when Viper protected someone, they became family. The truth comes out as days passed. Sienna slowly opened up. Bits and pieces of her story came out. Her father had left. Her mother worked double shifts. No one noticed the bullying. No one believed her cries. But the thing she said one afternoon broke every biker in the room. She whispered, "I thought I deserved it." Viper nearly shook with emotion. He kneeled in front of her. "Listen to me," he said, voice thick with anger and compassion. "You never deserved that. Not 1 second of it." He tapped his chest. You're strong. Stronger than you know." Sienna looked down. "Strong people don't cry," she whispered. Viper lifted her chin gently. "Kid, strong people always cry. Weak people make others cry." For the first time, she believed it. A new family. The Iron Vultures took turns picking her up from school. Hammer bought her coloring books. Stitch fixed her torn plastic bag into a customized mini backpack with biker patches. Ghost taught her how to sit on a Harley seat safely. Tank made her lunches and hid little notes inside like, "You're tougher than you feel." Sienna stopped crying every day. Some days she didn't cry at all. Some days she actually smiled. And one morning, when she looked in the mirror, she realized something. Her hair didn't hide her anymore. She wasn't invisible. Not to the people who mattered. Asterisk. The final showdown. Asterisk. One afternoon, the bullies made a huge mistake. They cornered Sienna behind the school again. Not to hurt her, but to intimidate her. Kimmy hissed, "We know those bikers won't always be around. Don't get brave." But today, Sienna did something she never did before. She stood up straight. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She didn't run. She simply said, "They're not protecting me because I'm weak. They're protecting me because what you're doing is wrong." The girls opened their mouths to respond, but then they heard it. Engines, loud, thunderous, growing closer. The iron vultures turned the corner, riding slowly in formation, headlights blazing, Viper in front. They weren't roaring in anger. They were arriving in silence, which somehow was even scarier. The bullies froze. One whispered, "Oh my God, it's them." Viper stopped his bike, took off his shades, and stared directly at the three girls. "You were told once," he said quietly. "I don't repeat myself." Kimmy dropped the pin she was holding. Reese burst into tears again. Lola ran. The school principal came running, confused. "What is going on here?" Viper handed him the sharp metal pin. This is what's been happening." For the first time, the principal understood the severity. For the first time, the bullies were held accountable. For the first time, Sienna felt safe. The secret in her hair. Weeks later, Sienna visited the garage again. Viper was cleaning his Harley. She walked up shyly and said, "Viper, can I ask you something?" He turned. "Anything, kid." She took a deep breath. "When you pulled that metal pin from my hair, why did you look so shocked?" Viper paused, then he kneeled down to her level and said, "Because I've seen a lot of cruelty in my life. But what someone did to you, that was the kind of cruelty meant to break a person." He pointed to her chest gently. "But you didn't break. You survived. And that makes you stronger than all of us." Sienna hugged him without warning. Viper froze. He never knew what to do with hugs. But then, slowly, he wrapped his arms around her. From that day onward, Sienna didn't cry anymore, because she knew someone would always have her back. A biker, a protector, a giant with a heart built from steel and scars. And whenever she told her story years later, she always said the same thing. "The world feared him, but he was the only one who saw me." If this story touched your heart, then don't forget, subscribe to Bikers Hype, like the video, share it with your friends, and, finally, if you love Hell's Angels, then share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love.